Hi, this is Mark Laughlin. I'm going to go over a spreadsheet on gun size and weight. And this is a spreadsheet that I stole from TFB TV. They did the initial analysis. I took their spreadsheet and have made some modifications. Now, basically, this spreadsheet lists brands of 9mm on this tab. I also have a 380 tab here. And then it takes the height of the weapon, the width, and the weight, and the capacity, and it's doing some calculations based upon that. Now, these yellow columns are the columns that I've added. Before we go into those, I'm going to switch over to this tab here called weighted rounds, because you see here, something I'm doing is I'm going like here's a Kel-Tec P11 has 10 rounds, and I'm saying its weighted capacity is 9.43. Or here I have the SIG P320 at 17 rounds, but yet I'm saying its weighted capacity is 13.98. Now, let's switch to this tab and I'll show you what my thinking is here. The reason I am weighting the rounds, or basically changing what the weight is, the round count is because the first few rounds are worth more to you than the later rounds. For example, if you have 49 rounds and that you add the next round that you add to make 50, it is not worth to you nearly as much as these first 4 rounds. And so you see I've kind of created this a bit of a curve here. It starts off giving full weight to the first 3 rounds and then begins dropping off slowly. And then the drop accelerates a bit, and then it reaches a certain point and slowly starts tapering off, even though each additional round is worth less. So let's look at some actual number examples here. We've got, say, round 1, and I'm actually giving it a value of 1 round. But at 4 rounds, I am giving that additional round from 3 only a value of 0.98. So I am saying 4 rounds is worth 3.98 rounds because of the diminishing utility of each additional round. Now you see if we get down here to 18 rounds, I'm saying that's worth only 14.45 rounds. And if you scroll all the way down here, we can see that at 50 rounds, I am valuing each additional round as only 0.09. And so for 50 rounds, I say that's worth 21.51 rounds. Now, why am I weighting rounds? Well, of course, it's the whole utility, incremental utility. Most self-defense uses of firearm do not require discharging the weapon. And when the weapon is fired, the fight is usually ended in 4 to 5 rounds. So those first 4 rounds are the most valuable. Each additional round is of less and less utility. More rounds equal more weight. More rounds equal more square inches of bulk. At some point, each additional round is a disvalue. And further beyond that, there is a point where the weight and bulk is actually deadly, and that you will be buried with, if you have 10 million rounds, you're going to be just buried in lead and you will perish. And this curve here is just my own made up evaluation based upon my view as a civilian. Now, someone who is stronger and carry a heavier load or is in a perilous battle zone would skew their values differently. Someone, say in Iraq, may want to carry 100 rounds of ammo or 200 rounds or whatever. So let's switch back here to the compact 9mm tab. And let's run through some examples. So what we're doing here is we're just like we talked about. We start with the official capacity at 10, and I'm valuing at 9.43 for the Kel-Tec P11. And then I'm calculating weighted rounds per inches squared, and that's basically this footprint. This is actually based on for this times this equals that. So if we look at the Glock 19, 5 times 1.18 equals 5.9. And so this is the rounds per that bulk, I guess you might say. Now here is the original raw data for rounds per ounce. Now here's my weighted rounds per ounce. That's based upon this weighted capacity and then the weight of the weapon. And then the original TFB score, composite score, was based of just on a raw date combination of these two numbers, which I thought gave an unfair boost. You know, the rounds per square inch is much larger number, almost 3 times as large as rounds per ounce. So what I did in my composite calculation is I'm of course using my composite numbers, but then I multiply, before I add them together, I'm multiplying the weighted rounds per ounce times 3, and that puts the weight kind of on an equal footing with the bulk of the weapon. And so this is my weighted composite score, and I've got them sorted by this score, and so you can see which weapons are the most efficient at carrying ammunition. And you can see the Kel-Tec P11, which is a very compact and 14 ounces, very lightweight and carries 10 rounds, has a weighted composite score that's quite high. The quite popular SIG P365 is also very light at 17.8 ounces and carries 10 rounds. It's of course heavier than the P11, but it carries the same amount of rounds, so it also has a very high score. The Glock 19, very popular handgun, even though it weighs 23.63 ounces, which is fairly heavy, it does have a large capacity, and that factors in its high score over here in the weighted composite.